What's up, tribe? How you guys doing? Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I hope you like this video. New show, well, new season. Same show, different season. The Real Housewives Ultimate Girls Trip Season 2. So, let's talk about who's on this season. So, they are going to be at the Berkshires at Tamara Judge's home in Massachusetts. I don't know why Vicky and them couldn't say Massachusetts, but okay. So who's on the show? We have Brandi Glanville from Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, Dorinda. Did I say Tamara Judge? I'm sorry, Dorinda. It's at Dorinda's house. Lord, I'm just making up stuff. It's at Dorinda's house. Bluestone Manor is what they call it. Dorinda is from New York. Phaedra, Atlanta. Eva, Atlanta. Taylor, Beverly Hills. Tamara and Vicky are from OC. Sorry, y'all. Dorinda. Now, I never looked at New York at all. I know I've seen Dorinda, but I've never really done New York. And I only did the one season of the OC. It was a season after Vicky and Tamara were fired. So I don't know these ladies either, okay? I remember Taylor. I told y'all I've been watching the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills since season 1. I missed a few seasons in the middle. But for the most part, I've been riding with them. So I do remember Taylor. Her story was ridiculous. We'll get there. It was so heartbreaking, her story. And we'll get there in a minute. And then of course my girls Eva, y'all know I'm an Eva stan. I love her. Going back to top model days, I love Eva. Not always crazy about Eva on the Real Housewives of Atlanta, but I love Eva. And child, y'all know Phaedra is gonna give us good TV, whether you like her or you don't like her. She's gonna give you good TV. So we start off. We kind of are getting caught up with the ladies. We see Eva with her kids, Phaedra with her boys. They're getting so big and handsome. Oh my gosh. Dorinda is walking around like a chicken with her head cut off, honey. She's got the kitchen going. She's got an assistant she has helping her get everything set up. And y'all know what I like that Dorinda did? Dorinda already had rooms set up for everybody. So we're not fighting over rooms, okay? We're not having nobody running through the house fighting over a daggone room. Now, unfortunately for Brandi, she got the room with the pull-out bed instead of an actual bed. So she's sleeping on a pull-out couch. But girl, it looked like she had to walk a long way to get to her room. But it is what it is, child. It is what it is. Look like she's got nice gift baskets for everyone. She's got pajamas for everybody. And we have a surprise coming. We have Jill from the OC coming. Now, she can't come into a day late because it's a Jewish holiday. And she's celebrating, observing the Jewish holiday. So, that's what we have going on, okay? Now, we find out that Vicky, so the ladies, so Vicky, Taylor, and, y'all gonna give me a minute to get these people together. Vicky, Taylor, and Tamara come together. And they were the first ones to get there. And it was cool. You know, they were a little nervous about meeting up with Brandi because we know Brandi and Taylor have a history. And then Brandi got into some sort of Twitter beef with Tamara and Vicky over Vicky making some comment. Now, what it sounds like is that Vicky was talking about Kelly Dodd and inadvertently threw a jab at Brandi. Because what she said was, we don't need Kelly Dodd. Like, Kelly Dodd is the new Brandi Glanville. She's just unstable. So Brandi was like, so how you calling me unstable? And Vicky was like, but I didn't call you unstable. But you did. Because you said Kelly Dodd is unstable. It's like our shows, Brandi, and she's unstable. So I understood why Brandi would have got offended by that, but we'll get to that later too. So they were a little apprehensive about meeting up with Brandi. We see Brandi with her 15-year-old son. She's still inappropriate because she's talking to her son about whether the Hulk is anatomically correct. And I just don't know if that's a conversation I would have with my 15-year-old child, but whatever. Taylor is remarried. She lives in Orange County, and she's really good friends with Vicky and Tamara at this point because she does live in Orange County. So she's comfortable with them, but of course she's a little nervous about meeting up with Brandi. She said she hasn't talked to Brandi since they filmed. So we'll get to their problem, but their stuff has been sitting for 10 years or however long it's been. So they, like I said, they get there first, and then Brandi shows up second. And everybody's pleasant, you know, but Brandi does tell Vicky, girl, me and you need to talk later. Like, we'll talk later, but we're going to go ahead and we're going to sip this good wine, and we're going to enjoy this good little moment, okay? Phaedra and Eva get there last. Now, Dorinda got some rules, and I'm not mad at her because at the end of the day, it's her house. You upstairs, she don't want no food or drink upstairs, and she want people to take their shoes off going up the steps. She said, you can keep your shoes on downstairs, I don't care. She said, and I even got y'all some slippers, so it won't even be a problem. Y'all, I bought y'all some slippers so y'all can make it do what it do. So, it's, you know, as everybody comes in, they show everybody to their room and everything is cool. And they're ready to eat lunch. And Vicky gets very irritated because she's ready to eat. And Dorinda, Eva, and Phaedra, I guess, are taking too long to come back downstairs because they were, like I said, they were the last ones to get there. So she's showing them their room, and of course they can't start eating until everybody shows up because they're filming, you know. And she's getting very irritated and a little rude about it. And Brandy was like, girl, calm down. Like, it's going to be okay. Like, they on their way. They'll be here in a few minutes. And I think the assistant did go to get Dorinda to let her know, listen, you know, they ready to eat lunch. And she came down. But, you know, she had to show everybody where they were. We see the famous fish room, they said. I don't know nothing about this fish room, but they said it's a real famous fish room. But, again, you got to go back to the show. They flashed back a little bit and gave us a little bit of that. And then Eva, you know, she's going to still be doing the Ricky Smiley show while she's there. So they gave her a room where she could set up her studio stuff, you know, and all that good stuff. So they had to go through some things, right? And so Brandy kind of peeped that, and she was like, she been a little rude. Like, that was a little extra for her to be, you know, demanding that we eat and demanding that Dorinda hurry up and get downstairs. I think Dorinda's doing a good job of playing host. I think she's doing a good job of that. So far, child, we in episode 1, okay? Let's listen. I ain't giving nobody no passes till we get to the end, okay? But for episode 1, I feel like we kind of, you know, got some things, you know, cool or whatever. The other thing I thought was interesting is that Eva was like loving up on the OC ladies, like talking about they were the OGs, and because she said, listen, I watch all of the franchises and they are the OGs, like they are the blueprint. And she was just like, oh my gosh, I just love y'all so much, I love you. And Tamara was like, I don't even know her. I mean, that's nice, but I don't know her. I was like, Eva, you need to dial it back, girl, because they're going to make you look crazy because you giving them all this kudos and all these praises, and they say they don't even know who you are. So they're sitting around the table, and they're talking about, you know, because everybody gets at lunch now. And Dorinda says that she didn't get fired. She's on pause. She said Andy called her and said that they're going to pause her for a season. So she thinks that she's going to be back for the next season of The Real Housewives of New York. And we know that franchise is in total shambles right now. So, child, she might be back. We don't know. When the dust settles, she might be back. But it was funny because all the rest of the ladies was like, girl, no, nobody gets paused, child. You fired. All of us were fired. And that's when they realized that all of them are ex-wives, and so they said, you know, they started calling themselves the ex-wives club. They realized that we're all, you know, part of the ex-wives club, right? Which is interesting because none of them are currently on a Real Housewives show. So then they talk about the conversation that Brandy and Taylor need to have, because going back to their season, and Brandy is playing victim. Brandy is like, nobody liked me. I mean, you know, nobody liked me, and I didn't understand. And of course, they had flashbacks of Brandy getting into it with Kyle and her sister and everything, Kim. And she's like, yeah, I mean, I just don't know. Like, nobody liked me. Girl, nobody liked you because you irritated everybody. Like, Brandy, don't come on here and rewrite history and try to act like you were a perfect angel and you were open arms and you weren't shady and you weren't catty and you didn't give people a hard time, because you absolutely did all of the above. So please keep the tears. Stop playing games with me, because you are not innocent, ma'am. You are no innocent, okay? Let's not do that. Let's not play that game. But then they say that, you know, her and Taylor probably need to have that conversation privately, you know, because there's some things that they just need to sort of speak on. So then they talked about Vicky breaking up with her man. And first thing out of Brandy's mouth is, good, he was a douchebag. Well, girl, that's why don't nobody like you. The woman just said that she broke up with her fiance. They were engaged to be married. You don't even know her, and you damn sure don't know him. All you know is what Bravo showed you, and you of all people should understand that all you know is what Bravo showed you. Now, clearly, He may not be a nice guy because everybody at the table sort of concurred that they weren't mad, that they weren't together anymore. But that's why don't nobody like you, Brandy. So then we found out that she had been living, that she bought a house in Mexico. He started living in the house in Mexico, and he was living in the house in Mexico more than he was living with her. She said they hadn't even had sex in 13 months. Girl, he got a woman down in Mexico. Either he flew her to Mexico or he found her in Mexico. But ma'am. So then they started talking about, well, you got to get a ring back. And they had this whole debate about whether she has to give the engagement ring back. And she said, I'm not giving this shit back because I bought it. Well, listen, if you bought the ring, it's not a debate. Child, if you bought the ring, there's no debate about whether you got to get that ring back or not. Okay? It is your ring. So then they started talking about having a naked party for Vicky to help her get over her man. And then Brandy asked her if she ever been with a woman. And we know Brandy done been with a woman. Hell, she told the whole world she had an affair with Denise. Okay? So we know that she is bisexual. And so they had a whole conversation about that. And of course, you know, Dorinda was like, listen, I don't want to be a part of this naked party. And that's fine that y'all have a naked party. Just don't sit on my furniture when y'all are done, okay? Go on, get dressed, okay? Go on, put your clothes back on. They said something about going down to the pool. She said, that's fine. Do your thing. Just be done. And don't come in my house with that foolishness. And again, I'm with you, Dorinda. I feel you on that. So Dorinda, you know, she dismisses everyone. They're going to rest and relax until it's time for dinner. They're going to have a clam bake for dinner. Now, mind you, don't nobody know what the hell a clam bake is. They don't know. Half of them didn't know what the Berkshires were. They had to Google it and look it up. I mean, I probably wouldn't have known. I've heard of the Berkshires. I didn't know either. But neither here nor there. So Eva ends up staying around with Brandy and the two of them because she likes Brandy. Eva, I'm telling you, girl, that's playing with fire right there. But she remembers Brandy from her season on Celebrity Big Brother, and she really liked her. So first of all, put a pin in that. Expect to see Eva Marcel on the next season of Celebrity Big Brother because she's mentioned it 2 or 3 times. I'm just saying, she putting her plug in. I'm just throwing that out there. So Brandy is talking to Eva again, making herself the victim. So they're talking about Vicky and how Vicky got nasty when it was time to eat lunch and how Vicky's just negative and, you know, so they're kind of catty. So they go upstairs and somehow Brandy makes her way into Dorinda's room and gets in Dorinda's bed and gets under the covers and starts snuggling with Dorinda. Listen, let me tell you something. And I feel like Dorinda was being really nice in that moment and was being like a nice hostess in that moment. But this is what you're not going to do. You are not going to climb your dirty ass up in my bed in your street clothes and get up under my covers. You have been in the... Ma'am. Are you crazy? But of course, Dorinda was really nice and told her, come on. And she said, you know, I just really like your spirit. You know, it just, you know, I know we're the same age, but you just have such a motherly spirit about you. Girl, what? So then at some point, Tamara comes in there and her and Brandy start having a conversation that they need to have about the tweets. And I already talked about that Tamara tried to act like she ain't say the girl was unstable. Brandy was like, no, I'm pretty sure that's what you said about me. And she was like, well, no, you said some pretty hurtful things. Like, even if I did say that, like, you went low, you went gutter. Now, listen, y'all know some people feel like there are no rules in fighting. If you punch me, I'm going to stab you. Like, and that's where Brandy was with it. Brandy said you called her unstable, so she called you a serial killer. Like, she called her a psychopath, and she talked about her churn and everything else. That's how Brandy played. That's why I'm telling y'all, be careful. If you're going to play in the Brandy Glanville pool, you better be ready to swim in the deep end, because Brandy don't play them games. I'm just telling y'all. I'm just telling y'all. So anyway, everybody's getting ready for the clam bake. And again, like I said, don't nobody know what to wear. They don't know what a clam bake is. And poor Dorinda is like, ain't nobody ever been to a clam bake before? Like, y'all don't know what a clam bake is? Girl, no, they don't. No, they never been to one before. So the ladies get dressed and Taylor and Brandy go to have the conversation that they need to have about what happened on their season. Now remember at the reunion, because they do the flashbacks. For those who do not know, Taylor's story on season 1 of Real Housewives of Beverly, season 2, was that she was in an abusive marriage. Camille Grammer exposed it on the show. The ladies knew, but they weren't talking about it on camera. Camille Grammer exposed it, and she said later on that she did it to protect Taylor. She did it because she felt like it needed to be out there so that she was scared about what might happen to Taylor if nothing was said or nobody did anything. I could see her point. And what happened was her husband ended up committing unaliving himself. And Taylor wrote a book. And at the reunion, Brandy questioned Taylor writing this book, saying, you seem to have gotten over what your husband did, and you're capitalizing on it, you're monetizing it, you're making money and making profit off of what happened to your husband. And ultimately, what I think this comes down to is Brandy was friends with her husband. And Brandy said that. Because she said, I lost a really good friend. He was a really good friend. I was friends with him. Oh, yeah, and me and Taylor were cool. So, at the end of the day, you're angry because you feel like your friend was disrespected in his death. That's what it boiled down to. And Taylor is trying to explain to you, listen, I was going through a lot. And Brandy didn't even insinuated that. She was like, well, why, if you had all those things going on, why would you go on a reality show? Like, did you want it to come out? Did you want it to be exposed? And she was like, girl, no. Like, I didn't want it to be exposed. And again, if you followed this, you heard the story. She really did try to hide it. She didn't want it out there. But I do think there was a part of her that wanted help. But Brandy is making it out to be a bad thing. Like, Taylor did something wrong. Like, Taylor is wrong in all of this. She was being abused. Period. And so they walk away from the conversation, and Brandy is like, well, I had a hard time too. Like, it was a really bad time for me too. And I'm like, girl, please don't compare, because I thought she was going to say because of her divorce and all that stuff. But please don't compare your very public, salacious divorce to her being a victim of domestic violence and her husband doing what he did and her having a child. And like she said, after her husband died, she didn't have any money. She was penniless until they resolved the estate. But she said, listen, I had bills to pay until we could get that resolved. And she said they made me an offer, and in order for me to get my advance, the book had to be finished before the reunion. That's why the book was done before the reunion. So they walk away from this conversation, and Brandy is acting like they had such a great conversation. It was such a revelation. And Taylor is like, why is she acting like we're in a better place? Because I feel like we're in a worse place. Because I feel like she really just accused me of, once again, profiting off my husband's death and manipulating and lying about the domestic violence. Like, I don't feel like we're in a better space. And Brandy's acting like we just had a great conversation and cleared everything up. And that ain't what happened here. So they get to dinner, and Dorinda has a icebreaker. I think the first question was, what is your biggest insecurity? And she said her insecurity is not leaving a legacy. And once again, Brandy jumps to, oh, you want to be back on the Housewives? Dorinda was like, that ain't what I said. I didn't say get back on the Housewives. I said leave a legacy, meaning like when I'm gone, I left something here in the world. Girl, where you get that from? I didn't say nothing about being on the Housewives. Like, the world is bigger than the Housewives. She had to show them how to open up the lobster, child. Because, again, that's like me showing somebody how to open up a crab. Because once the lobsters got to the table, they were all looking at them like... Because, of course, they used to be in at restaurants where the lobsters are already opened up for you and all that good stuff. So she had to show them how to do the lobster, child. She picked that thing up and boom, here you go. And they were like... And then she ended up feeding a piece of the lobster to Phaedra. And Phaedra played along, girl. Phaedra was like, go ahead. She said, this your dime. I'm staying at your house on your dime. Go on, feed me that lobster, honey. It was a cute moment. It was cute. But somehow we got back on Brandy and Taylor. And Brandy, once again, starts talking to the table about a conversation that was private and she, once again, is questioning Taylor and bringing up... And that's when Taylor told him, listen, I was trying to feed my child. Like, yes, I took the advance because I needed to feed my child. And Brandy was like, well, I didn't know that. She said, because you don't ask questions. You just make assumptions. You don't ask anything. You talk on stuff that you don't know about. You don't have the whole story. So then Brandy starts saying, well, it was a hard time for me too. And everybody at the table was like, girl, I know you're not getting ready to compare whatever you had going on with what this woman had going on. Like, I know you're not comparing what you had going on to his death and the domestic violence. Like, girl, stop it. And she was like, but it was hard on me too. And I'm like, girl, how did you become the victim? And everybody at the table is yelling at her like, girl, you can't, because you are not the victim in this. You did, no ma'am. You're not going to turn this into you are the victim. No ma'am, you are not the victim. Child, so that's how the episode ended, with them arguing. And you know they gave us 3 episodes, so I'm going to try to get y'all the other 2 before I get out of here. All right, I'll talk to y'all later. Peace.